Okay folks, so today I'm going to be demonstrating the GKU D600 Dual Dash Cam system. So yes, this does have those two cameras, the primary camera which goes into the windscreen as you would expect, but then also the secondary camera so that you can capture things happening behind the vehicle. So we're going to start with the unboxing, show you exactly what's included, then we're going to go through the setup process, and then finally we're going to have a look at the app and see some of the footage that can actually be captured with these cameras. So let's go ahead and open things up here. This is a 4K system as well, so you're going to be capturing some pretty good footage. Now, we do have the instruction booklet here, along with, I believe these are for your windows in order to get a better sticky connection with the cameras themselves. So we'll pop those down to one side. And here we have what I believe is the primary camera. So it will connect right here from the bottom. You can see we have the red protective film on there right now. Here is the camera lens, also currently protected. And on the side, we have the USB-C port. But what I really like about this is that a 64GB SD card has also been bundled in this package. And that has been installed in the camera, ready to go straight out of the box. And finally, there is the second port here, which is what we will be using to connect to the rear camera. So you only need to power the front primary camera, and then the rear camera will get power from this directly. So here we have the main cable for powering the system. We have the 12-volt adapter with a single USB connector. So even though this only has a single USB pass-through, remember this camera is not going to be using that, so that will be free to charge mobile phones, power other devices, or whatever you need it for. But what I'm also going to be showing you later in the video is how you can connect this a little bit more permanently, I suppose, with a hardware kit, which is not included, but you can get them separately. And this will actually allow you to wire the dual camera system up into the fuse box of your car, and then you won't need to worry about using the 12-volt adapter at all. And it also gives you some additional features then, such as 24-hour parking surveillance. Next up, we have the rear camera, okay? So that's that. It has the 6-meter cable attached to it. And then on the other end here, we have the connection that goes into the front camera. So I'm going to show you how you can cable manage this through your vehicle in order to create a neat and tidy finish. And speaking of which, we have a couple of cable managing clips, so I'm sure they will come in helpful. A couple of additional sticky pads. And then finally, we have the orange pry tool. I'll be showing you this as well in use. This is how we are going to be cable managing these cables once we go through the setup process. So that's everything that's included in the box right here. The two cameras, the cable management kit, and also all the cables that we are going to need to at least get started. So now let's pop out to the vehicle I'm going to be setting up with this system, and I'm going to guide you through my entire process. So here I am, this is my stepson's first car. He's currently learning to drive, and hopefully he'll be passing his test, and when he does, he'll be out and about in this by himself. I think having some dash cams installed is probably a wise idea. I've gone ahead and downloaded the app, which is the Jarvis Cam app. It's the same app whether you are going to be using this with iPhone or with Android. So let's go ahead now and actually test out the dash cam before we install it, making sure that everything works as expected. So yeah, before I now go ahead and route the cables throughout the car, what I'm going to do is just get this connected up to the app using the 12-volt adapter and make sure that it actually works. And we'll also plug in the rear camera as well, make sure that is working too. Now, when it comes to actually mounting the front camera itself, it's important to note that the sticky pad goes above the camera, so you know you've got it oriented correctly. And you're either going to want to place it to the side of the actual rear view mirror, okay? So that's the passenger side, or more centrally. Obviously you want it somewhat hidden out the way so that you're not going to be distracted when you are driving. So I'm probably going to place it under the rear view mirror, but more centrally in this particular car. I think that will work best. Right, so I have the app open right now. What I'm going to do is plug the USB-C cable into the camera itself. Make sure we remove the protective film first of all. Okay, and then make sure we turn it on at power here. Oh, it's actually come on automatically. That's perfect. So I'm just going to rest this down somewhere whilst we connect to the app. I'm not going to actually put it on the windscreen just yet. And so on the app, I'm just going to tap add camera. By the way, one of the things I really like about this Jarvis Cam app, it hasn't asked me to sign up to an account or to hand over any data or anything like that. So it is literally just download the app and then tap the add camera button. And yet the camera has been detected. The GKU Wi-Fi network is the one that we want. Now check your manual for the password, but for me the password is quite simply 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That's for the Wi-Fi. So with that we can select connect, and that will just take a moment to actually connect to the Wi-Fi. And now if we head back into the main app itself, we can see that the camera has been detected, and it looks like it wants to format the memory card, which is absolutely fine. But I can see we actually do have an image. Okay, the camera isn't positioned yet, of course, but that image is coming through off the sky. At least the camera is working, so that's absolutely perfect. So now if we head over to camera settings, and we're just going to look for that format SD card. There we go. Yep, let's go ahead and format. That will make sure then that the SD card is ready to go. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of other settings here that we can adjust if we wish. We can turn sound recording on and off also. I'm actually going to turn sound recording off, as that will save space on the memory card. And also if we do, you know, get some footage off the SD card, then it will at least give my stepson a little bit of privacy as well. And let's just turn the speaker volume down a touch. And I am going to keep the rest of the settings as they are. So yep, it's automatically going to start recording once the car engine is turned on. Later on, I'm going to hook this up to the fuse box, so it won't even need to be plugged in to the 12-volt adapter here in order to do that. But for now, I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and plug in the rear camera, make sure that that is giving us an image too, and then we've got the task of getting it all connected up properly throughout the car. So with the rear camera, this is the connector that plugs into the front dash cam. So I'm going to plug that in and we'll see if the app actually detects it. Okay, so right there for the test, I have now got the rear dash cam plugged in. So both cameras should technically now be working. Let's check the app. Right, so back on the app then, I can see the front camera is still working, that's absolutely fine, but I can tap this icon here and hopefully that will switch us over to the rear cam. Just to clarify, this is just for the app, and whilst you are actually using the dash cams in the car, both cameras will be recording to the SD card at the same time at all times. So this is just to swap them as you are viewing them in the app, but I can see that the rear camera is absolutely working too. And yeah, the picture quality there is also very good and it's going to be really helpful. So everything now is working. It's just about getting everything set up and put into place. So we'll do that next. Okay, so it's kind of hard to show this, but I've now got the front camera situated right behind the rear view mirror. So this is pretty much completely blocked from view from the driver, which is great because obviously it's not going to prove a distraction. And it's also going to capture the entire window view as well. So what I've got plugged into this is the cable for the rear camera. The rear camera isn't attached to the other end yet because I've now got to get this pretty much cable managed from the front to the back of the car. Obviously we don't want this cable hanging loose from the front camera to the back, and that's exactly where this pry tool is going to come in handy now, because we're going to use this to pull the trim back a little bit on the car, and that will allow us to just tuck this cable out of the way. And I'm going to show you my doing that in action. Okay, so now we have the rear camera attached and connected with a pretty good cable management job actually. I'm pretty proud of that, happy with that. And there is some adjustability here so you can get the angle as to where you need it to make sure that you can obviously get a good view of the rear of the vehicle as well. So With all of this done now, the only thing left, which is optional, is to hook the whole system up to the fuse box of the car using a hardware kit. Not provided, okay, you'll have to get that separately. And if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can obviously just connect the front camera in through the 12-volt adapter with the cable that's provided. Now, when it comes to setting up a hardware kit so that you can connect your entire camera system to the fuse box and therefore not have to use the 12-volt adapter, there are a couple of things you do need to be aware of. First off, you may have a number of fuse boxes around your vehicle, so check with the owner's manual as to where their locations are. But the one you are probably going to want to use is going to be either somewhere situated on the driver's side internally or near the glove box, which is the case for the car that I am setting this up with. With that done, it's just a case of checking which fuses you want to piggyback off for the dash cam, and you are going to need 2 fuses. You will need one that gets power at all times, okay, and you will need one that only gets power when you've got the ignition turned. So they're the 2 you are going to need to identify, and I use just a small tool. So this is the tool I use. This clip here simply connects to the metal body of the car for grounding, and then I can just put this on the fuses and it will light up if there's any power, so then I can know which fuses give power at different stages of ignition or at no ignition at all. And it's really important, check the owner's manual of your vehicle, and that will have a diagram of the fuse box so you can see which components of the car are connected to which parts of the circuit. And I wouldn't recommend piggybacking off fuses that are part of important circuits. Things such as the 12-volt adapter, the internal cabin lights, the radio, they should be all fair game. And for most hardware kits, you'll have a yellow cable, red cable and a ground cable. The yellow cable will connect to part of the circuit that always gets power. The red cable will connect to the circuit that only gets power when the ignition is turned on. And then the grounding cable just needs to be hooked up to part of the metal body of the car. The only thing I had to do after that was, once again, do a little bit of cable management to hide the cable as we connect the USB-C end back into the dash cam, and then put the glove box in, and it was all good to go. No issues there whatsoever. And here's some footage of the dash cam in action. So with all of this setup complete, both the front and the rear cameras are going to be recording at all times as the vehicle is turned on and being used. And you can, of course, then go ahead and extract that video footage whenever you need it, either by sending it to your phone over the Wi-Fi, using the Wi-Fi on the dash cam, or just by removing the SD card and then popping that into an SD reader to copy those files across. The SD card that's included is 64 gigabytes. However, once that is filled up, it will automatically start rewriting the older footage, and it will do that continuously. So every time it continues to fill up, it will start rewriting the oldest footage, so that you never need to worry about reformatting that card or taking files off as the card gets full. The dash cam will sort all of that out for you. The only thing I did notice on the box here, it has a 4K logo. However, it does also state on the box that the cameras are 2.5K and 1080p, and that is actually more accurate. The front camera is 1440p max and the rear camera is 1080p, but I found the footage from these to be more than satisfactory, and when I've paused the footage you can easily identify number plates, so no problems there whatsoever. If there is an accident or something, you should be able to get that identifying information. And because we set up the hardware kit, we now have the option of enabling both parking mode and emergency collision detection. So even when the key's not in the ignition at all, the car's locked and it's completely parked, the camera will still have just enough power to detect if there's any incidents, and it will start recording if that is the case. But overall, from what I've seen so far, definitely impressed with the GKU D600 Dash Cam, front and rear cameras. I think it's going to be a great system, going to be really helpful for my stepson, and GKU did send this sample out to me so that I could make this in-depth video for you. I do hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Safe driving.